This is the Extra Point Podcast. During this podcast, we will dive deeper into our Sunday teaching and share practical next steps for your faith journey. Now, let's kick off the Extra Point.
Welcome to the Extra Point Podcast. I'm Anna Blake, the youth pastor here. Joining me is Cheryl Ross, our Next Steps and Discipleship pastor. And we are diving into week 8 of our Rise and Fall Part 2 series. We're so glad that you're with us. Make sure that you are subscribed and share this episode with a friend as we dive deeper into Sunday's teaching. Cheryl, as we consider what was going on Sundays, we hear this story that we've probably heard. The first time I heard this story was actually through a VeggieTales movie.
Oh, yeah.
The little duck. If you're not familiar with VeggieTales, there's a VeggieTales movie that kind of displays the story of David and Bathsheba and all that entails. And that's what we were talking on this weekend. Yeah. Scott shared on that. Just to kind of open the floor, what were some main takeaways or specific items that you'd like to dive into?
Yeah, so this is a story that if you've been around church, you have probably heard it. Mm-hmm. But believe it or not, there are people who haven't or don't know all the ins and outs of it. And so it's found in 2 Samuel chapter 11. And Pastor Scott brought a unique spin on it, talking about how you can ruin your life rather than kind of the opposite of what people typically preach with this. But just a couple weeks ago, in my Bible study that I lead, one of the women said, "Why did Uriah have to die?" She was, because we've been reading, we kind of talk about the previous week and we read ahead together and talk about it. And I found it so interesting because I was like, do you not know the story? And she was like, no, why did he have to die? And I'm like, well, he didn't have to die. But this was what David thought was necessary because of that. And so I just want to let you know, if you're not super familiar with all the ins and outs of this story, go to 2 Samuel chapter 11 and read the full chapter, because you will get some insight on that and see whoa, this is wild. This is extreme. And that's where I liked Pastor Scott's spin on it about giving us these things of what you can do to ruin your life, because what I see there is that you don't start out at the extreme.
Right. Yeah.
You start out with this isn't so bad. I'm just going to hang out, relax, not be where I'm supposed to be. But the progression that can happen so easily.
Yeah.
If you don't have that accountability and that community and those things that Pastor Scott talked about at the end, you don't start out there.
Yeah.
It's what happens. It's a gradual thing. And before you know it, you're way in it a lot farther than what you ever intended to. And so I think if you listen and you're like, oh, I'm never going to do that stuff. That's not me. I would never do anything like that. I think it's important to remember, it didn't start out at that extreme of we're going to kill somebody to try to cover this up.
Right.
It started out with a simple, I'm going to relax while my men go to war.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's really the thing for me, I think, that I see with it.
Yeah. Yeah, that not being where you're supposed to be. Actually, when I was coming up, I went to a camp as a kid, and one of the rules, well, it was more like a principle than it was a rule that they had in place, is be where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there, doing what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to be doing it.
Yeah.
And that kind of stepped outside of the lane of a rule as I look back on that, and more of a principle, a way to live, to go, I need to be where I'm supposed to be when I'm supposed to be there, because to be where I'm supposed to be when I'm not supposed to be there isn't the right thing.
Right. And
to be somewhere I'm not supposed to be whenever I should be somewhere else is not the right thing either.
Right.
And so how do we make that a principle in our own lives? Are there certain red flags we can set up, boundaries? What does that end up looking like if we were to say, I will be a person that is in the places I'm supposed to be when I'm meant to be there? How do we differentiate from being what David ends up doing and going, I think I'm just going to kick it and not do what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah. I think a big part of it is consistency, but also like just that discipline that says like, even in the things that seem small, like they don't matter. I think it's easy for those things to maybe be like, I can do it some other time. Like it's not that big of a deal. Like I can go to the grocery store tomorrow. But then what do you end up doing? You end up going and getting fast food because you don't have groceries in your house. I think there's like little simple things that I think we don't realize how it can filter into the other areas of our lives. But I think that it's the stuff that Pastor Scott talked about at the end, with that community, with those, having some accountability in your life. I remember when my dad passed away when I was 17, and I ended up moving in with my aunt and uncle, my mom's sister and her husband. And I remember feeling like I was just used to telling my parents, my dad and my stepmom, where I was supposed to be, what my schedule was like. And then when I came home, I kind of gave like a report of it. Right. And I remember the first time that they were like, hey, you don't have to tell us everything you're doing. Like, we don't need to know. We trust you. It's okay. You don't have to give us a full on detailed report. And I was like, oh, but then that freedom made me feel like, oh, well, maybe I don't have to go to class.
Yeah.
Maybe I can show up late, like, because I don't have anybody checking in on me now. And I remember it was very easy to just show up to school late because, it's not that they didn't care.
Yeah.
But I didn't have that accountability at the level that I had before. And I was a good kid. Like, I wasn't going to places I maybe shouldn't have been, but I wasn't where I was supposed to be either. And so I think having that, but also it's that concept of like being who you are wherever you're.
Yeah, the integrity mindset. Yeah.
But yeah, I think if you have integrity, if you're the same when nobody else is looking, then you're going to be someone who is where they're supposed to be. But yeah, for me, I think it was mostly like accountability in my life of, I don't necessarily, like, my husband doesn't ask me all the things, but I still will say like, hey, this is what the schedule looks like this week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's not like we aren't trusting each other or those types of things, but he knows where I'm supposed to be. We know like when the kids need to be at soccer practice, like we run those things by each other to where like if I'm coming home late on a Tuesday or Thursday, then it puts us behind on getting kids to soccer practice where they need to be. And it's all those things, but like it's a togetherness of that accountability and understanding, I think. And I think that's probably really hard for people who are, single or on their own, to have that, which is why I think it's maybe important to kind of bring those principles in when we're younger, or like realize, oh, this is why our parents, maybe wanted us to have this principle or this discipline as a young kid, because then it sets us up for success in our future.
Yeah, because I think without some type of accountability, even if it's being accountable to ourselves, leading ourselves well, but having someone else looking in on it, it can really set us up for failure when it comes to temptation and a life with some regrets versus the other option, which is being where you're supposed to be and experiencing what God has for you. And we of course see that through what David has going on here. One of the phrases that Scott used in the teaching that it was a delight to the ears, one of those little moments where you go, oh, I like the way that sounds. It helps me think through it, helps me recognize what's going on here. Idle time gives time to pursue your idols. When we hear something like this, when we think about it, I don't know very many people who could hear that and go, I don't know about that. I don't think that's real. I think most of us would go, oh, yeah, that's what's happened. It's what's happened with me before. But what are some like modern day idols that people often find themselves drifting towards in idle moments? Like, can we just kind of pull the curtain back on what some of those things are, and maybe even help some of our friends identify like, oh, I didn't even think that could be an idol in my life.
Yeah. Well, Pastor Scott hit the 3 like big things, of money, sex, power.
Right.
And I think it's easy to look at some of those and be like, well, scrolling the social media, looking at all the reels for an hour isn't the
money,
same.
sex, power. Yeah, there's something that goes, well, it's not that.
Right. But are you on it because you're looking to see your level of influence on your posts? Are you on it because, you are looking for the next thing that maybe you could do to gain some of that? Are you watching or like following some social things that lend some to that lustful nature? Like, you know what I mean? Even the shows you're watching and that type of stuff.
Yeah.
I think that it's easy. I'm not saying all shows are bad and all those things. Like I'm one that I will give myself maybe a minute. I think we talked about this, that we do like a couple little scrolls and then we're done because, and I think if you can count that, then you're knowing you're not on there too long. But I think that easily social media becomes one of those things that we drift towards, time watching things that maybe we shouldn't be watching. It's something that's easily to drift towards. And the thing with algorithms that are created is that once you watch something a few times, it gets filtered into what you're watching even more.
Right.
Even the reels that you're looking at, the posts you're liking, those things. And so then it comes up and pops up in your feeds, in your stuff even more. YouTube's the same way. There are algorithms written in to try to put the things in front of you that you are more likely to watch.
Right.
And so I think that those are the things that are can easily become an idol in those idle moments, because it doesn't even feel like it's that bad most of the time when you're doing it. But before you know it, time has passed and maybe you haven't done that load of laundry. And so then you're rushed the next day. And then you get short with your spouse because you're rushed because of not doing that thing. Like it's that trickle thing. Like when you sat down to watch that YouTube video, you didn't necessarily think about that trickle effect of what's going to happen. But because this took place or precedence over caring for your family in a way or yourself in a way that it was necessary to set you up for success for these other moments, then it trickles down to where then in that moment there's frustration, there's, whatever happening. And so, I don't know that I answered your question.
Well, it's okay.
But I think...
Well, it's okay because I actually have a follow-up thought as we're talking, and I think that this is a little bit in the direction we want to go. Like, when we have those moments where whatever the thing is that's taking our time, because the idea is idle time.
Yes.
Like, is it discipline? Is it boundaries? Is it like just as simple as going, God, I want this time to be your time.
Yes.
Help me use it the way you want. Like,
I think there at the end, Pastor Scott talked about it's getting in the gospel deeper and getting the gospel deeper in your life.
Yeah.
And so I think those moments of prayer, like when you realize, oh, I've been watching YouTube for over an hour. I've been watching these reels for 15 minutes. Like, hey, God, help me to maybe like do something better or more productive with this time.
Yeah.
What can I do during this time? Is that finding some good, wholesome, like biblical people to follow to where you're watching those reels instead. Like I could watch Jackie Hill Perry like all the time.
Right.
I just, there are certain people that I think that like some of those can suck you in just as easily, but like there are some different avenues or some different things you could watch or be in to help replace that almost, because you take it away, you still just are left with idle time.
Yeah.
So what do you do in that time? And I think that sometimes it's as simple as asking God, hey, what should I do with this time? I think, we're setting that boundary of for 30 minutes. Like, set a timer on your phone.
Yeah, my phone, I get pretty grumpy later in the evening because my phone locks down all my social medias and all my YouTubes. And I look at it and I go, you got to be kidding me. But then, of course, I did that intentionally a long time ago because I was aware that there was real life-giving opportunities in my life to connect with God, connect with others that I was missing. And I'm not getting it right because I still hit that alert. I mean, if I was getting it right, I wouldn't need the alert.
Right.
But I'm not getting it right. Yeah. So I need that.
But you need that boundary. You need that thing set up in place to help keep you accountable to that.
Yeah.
And I think that those types of things are great, especially for the single people or like anybody. Yeah. I think living by a schedule and a calendar isn't terrible for you, especially if you struggle in these areas. It might be that you have to do some intentional things like that to help keep you from sliding down in that slope where you're doing, you're creating idols out of things, and spending more time doing that, because the majority of us, we hear, we're pastors, we hear people say, like, I just don't have time to read the Bible. I don't have time to do these things. And it's like, are you sure? Because I'm pretty sure you were probably on, like, let's pull up the app and see how long you've been on social media this week. Yeah. Like how much time you spent there.
Well, Cheryl, that's rude. But, no, it's real. It's real. It's good. It's good. And in that, like, that takes what I would call like a confession almost, to like be like able to confess, here's what I actually have been doing with my time. Here's what I actually have been up to, even to the point of like, here's what's on my heart and what's on my mind, like confessing those things in a way to actually seek a different path.
Yes.
And what we see with David is he's unwilling to confess the desires of his heart and even his actions at this point, which in his unwillingness to confess what he's up to, there are some serious consequences that show up.
Yeah.
Really serious and really horrible. However, I have experienced horrible consequences because of things I wasn't willing to own up to. Yeah. I would imagine you have too. I imagine our friends listening have too. What is the difference? Have you had an experience where you had the opportunity to own up to it and you did, and you found the freedom that comes in that, or someone was willing to own up to something towards you and you found freedom in that? Because I think that there is the other side of the page. We don't have to live in looking at David's life and go, well, Dave did it, so I can do it too.
Right.
That's crazy behavior. Like, what really can happen is, let me just confess what's up and see if we can get somewhere new.
Yeah. I think for me, the most recent and maybe big thing was for me, which again, it wasn't like it was necessarily bad. Like, I loved Instagram and I followed a lot of good Christian people on Instagram. But there came a point where I was on it a lot. I was looking at what all these people had to say instead of necessarily what God had to say or these things. And I found myself kind of in a comparison thing too. And I remember like God really telling me I needed to get rid of it.
Yeah. Wow.
And it wasn't until I think I actually told you about it in a little bit. And once I spoke that to you, I got rid of the thing. And there have been moments where I've wanted to put it back on. And I'm like, I think I could put it back on. And then something in me is like, no, I mean, I know it's the Holy Spirit, but it's that thing where it's like that check of where I think, oh, maybe I'm good. Maybe I'm past that. Maybe I can do this again. The Holy Spirit comes in and I have to listen to that, because then I'm like, oh, well, then I'm going to have to tell Anna. And I ended up like actually sharing that with the whole church at the end of a sermon thing one week, where it was like, hey, I took a lot longer to get rid of this thing than what I should have, because I wasn't wanting to fully surrender or trust God in that, to know, like, because it was almost one of those things that I knew God was sparing me from something in that. Yeah. Not necessarily anything that I had actually done yet, but also something that he was trying to protect me from going down a path that it could have easily ended up in. Yeah. And all it took though was that confessing it to somebody that I knew and trusted to make it more real in my life to say, I can't go back to that.
Yeah.
Because now I know somebody else knows. Like, and I know God knows, but like,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not somebody that I see you typically 5 days a week at least, sometimes more, you know? And so I have to look at you every single day that I'm around you and know
I know.
whether or not I have done the thing that I said that I wasn't going to do. And I think that is that level of, you know, accountability and confession that confession brings along with it.
Yeah.
That says, like, if you really care and trust someone, then and I think that those are the keys. Like, you don't need to confess to just anybody.
Right.
We weren't saying David should have gotten on the rooftop and like yelled to his whole kingdom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But somebody, and we're going to see how this all plays out in the coming weeks. And like, I think the thing though, is that we are going to see even more consequences that David still has to deal with and the fallout from this. And I think sometimes we want to confess because we hope that it might spare us some of those consequences, or we don't confess because we think it'll spare us some of those consequences. Yeah. But I think the thing to remember is that you're going to have consequences either way.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
But I think you're going to end up with less when you confess, because it'll keep you from doing the thing over and over again.
Yeah.
That created those consequences in the first place.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love that share. I think that's like really wise when we think about the right things that we want to do. Like when we want to be a person of integrity, inviting key people in on that. I know I've done that before with my health. I've done it before with finances, like like letting other people know, hey, this is a goal that I have because I think there's some things that aren't going so great in these areas. Even in spiritual growth tracks, different times through life, like letting people in, hey, things aren't so hot right now. Yeah. I need to let someone else know that there's some changes that are happening because they kind of have to. Yeah. And I think that does create true freedom, true restoration, true opportunity for healing, and less aggressive, and a less aggressive track towards regret and consequence. Yeah. And so, those are so fantastic. We see a lot of those characteristics of David if they were flipped upside down, you know, the things like integrity, things like accountability. Had he been content with what he had, you know, Scott, he took the approach of, you know, David already had plenty of wives. He already had plenty of things. He already had all these, but he still, there was some type of discontent in him. If we look at the opposite attributes, integrity, accountability, contentment, we look at repentance, truly desiring what God has for me and being where I'm supposed to be in his will, like those kinds of things. That lifestyle is, it is an outpouring of the fruit of a impacted life. Like the Spirit has impacted a life and the fruit is just overflowing the basin. And we can see that this isn't just someone trying hard. Right. Paul and I, this may be a common term. I don't know. It is where we grew up, where Paul and I grew up. When we see someone just trying too hard, we just say that's a try hard. We see someone, they're just giving too much effort. And it's almost like, what are you doing? Like, you don't have to try so hard if you just let go of this moment, let go of a little control, let go of a little whatever it is that you want out of it, and just let the moment exist. Yeah. Which, as I became more of a Christian and understanding God and his Spirit and all these things, it's kind of the same, but it's let go of control and let the Spirit sit in the Spirit, like sit in God's
I think it goes back to that, like when we look at Exodus 14:14, right? God will fight for you. You only have to be still. Yeah. I think that we forget because we just talked about idle time leads to idle. Yeah. Right? Time with our idols. Like, so we want to do something, but sometimes that's not the thing. Like, sometimes you have to be still and let God do the thing. Yeah. Like, and let him help you with that. Because I think I would venture to say that most of the time, and even in the story with David didn't take time to sit back and say, hey, God, I screwed up. Yeah. How do I fix this?
No, he doesn't do that.
He does not do that, right? And I think sometimes we're quick to want to fix it in our own power and our own thing.
Yeah.
And so we don't take that time to just sit back and say, okay, God, here I am. Here's where I totally got it wrong. Like, I can't fix this on my own. I don't know what to do here. So I'm just going to sit here until you tell me what to do or you make it right. Like, I think there are moments in our lives that we have to be okay with that. And it's hard.
Yeah.
Especially if you're like a fixer type person.
Yeah.
Which I think I probably am a little bit. I want to do something like to fix it. Like, I don't like to see people hurting or, you know, the things like when I'm like, if you just do this, like just do this and it'll be okay. But it's a lot harder to just sit back and say, I surrender to whatever comes from this. Like,
is that, and we can kind of start to wrap things up. If for our friends listening, like, is that truly part of the faith journey? Is that like the Holy Spirit sanctifying, changing us, making us more into the person God created us to be? And is that what that looks like?
I think so. I think it's a lot of that. I think it really goes back to those disciplines of you're reading your Bible and you're praying and your time in silence and solitude. I think that if you're not getting that right, if you're not spending some time, I'm not saying all the time.
Yeah.
If you're not spending at least some time of your week doing those things, you won't see that transformation happen.
Yeah.
Like, you won't begin to have that Spirit-led life because you can't be led by what you don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's where it says, like, the sheep, they know my voice, right? Like, you can't know his voice if you don't know him. Like, if you don't know how he would sound like, what he might tell you to do. Like, and so...
Or if there's a refusal to listen, kind of where David was so close with God in so many ways.
I think that's why
but then he got comfortable and it was like he just thought he had it together and he relaxed his from what we can see, it looks like he relaxed his spiritual disciplines.
Yes.
Which led him to a place where he kind of thought he had it figured out.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that that's why we also see he doesn't ask God the things because he's in hiding in a way of his own. It kind of goes back. It all goes back to the garden. Like, right? Like, where in the beginning you do something, you hide, you try to keep away, you try to cover it up. They try to cover up, you know, and because God talked a lot about that identity issue. And I do agree that most of us, if we knew how God actually looked at us,
oh gosh,
who he saw us as, I mean, if we really think and we keep the cross in front of us, and what Christ did there, what he did for us, I think that if we just kept the cross in front of us, we would see ourselves a little bit different and our worth and our value.
I agree.
A lot different. And I think, like, one of the sweet women in my Bible study says, she was like, I don't want to see one drop of Jesus's blood wasted on me.
Yeah.
And I think, like, that's the kind of thing that she keeps in her, like, in the forefront of her mind when she comes to an area where she struggled before us. I don't want one drop of his blood to be wasted on me because I've decided I want something else.
Yeah.
Or something different. But I think, like, when we look at that and we see, like, God actually loved me enough to do this for me. Like, who am I to deserve that? Oh, I am precious in his sight. Like, and he loved me enough to do this. So now how can I see myself in his light, in that light, to then know I don't need to do these other things.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah. No, that's so good. I hope that as we continue in this series, we can just keep being reminded of God's faithfulness. You know, to us now, that faithfulness of the cross and that ability to be Spirit-led, Spirit-filled, have a relationship with Jesus and see ourselves the way God sees us. And so that we can not just look at these stories as stories of, oh yeah, me too, Dave, but look at these stories as stories of, oh God, you showed up for me too, just like you did there. Yeah. And so this week as we lead into next Sunday and the weeks to come, just be thinking about who you are, the way God sees you. Whenever you feel like everything around is just too much, maybe that's a really great opportunity to give it to him, to give it to God, say, God, this is yours. I'm going to trust you with it, and help me to see what the next right step is as I walk with you. Thanks for sharing today, Cheryl. Thanks, Scott, for this message. Appreciate you all listening. Share with a friend. We're excited to see you next time. Have a great day.
Thanks for tuning in to The Extra Point. Be sure to subscribe to the Southridge Church podcast and tune in every Wednesday for another episode of The Extra Point.